Hi, welcome to Film Fiend. My name is Seb, and today I'm reviewing The Good Boy, or Heel as it's also known. I don't know why it has two different titles, possibly because the film Good Boy released around the same time and they wanted to avoid confusion. But anyway, The Good Boy is directed by Jan Komasa, and it follows Tommy, a volatile 19-year-old who is abducted and wakes to find himself imprisoned in the basement of an unknown family's home. This film really impressed me. It caught me off guard with how thematically compelling it is. I went in basically completely blind, so I had no idea what I was in for, and I found it to be a totally surprising, genre-defying, and emotionally impactful piece of work. It's dark, funny, tense, and suspenseful, but also moving and insightful, and it holds its cards close to its chest, waiting until the finale to reveal its true thematic intentions. It's immediately intriguing and grips you straight away as you're introduced to the characters whose intentions are initially ambiguous. It's even a little bit bewildering at first because you have so many questions about what's happening and what the characters' motivations are. It's purposefully enigmatic and has you on the edge of your seat throughout, wondering where it's all heading and what the true purpose of the story is. As I said, this film is quite genre defying, and for the first half or so, it's quite funny, but darkly funny in that way where you're not sure if you should be laughing. Comparisons could be made to a Yorgos Lanthimos film in the way that it's dark and weird, but with substantial themes at its core. And in some ways, it could be described as a dark comedy drama, or a twisted coming of age story, or a strange Stockholm syndrome type narrative. But there's so much more going on underneath the surface. It alludes to something more profound about how families should raise their kids, and how we are all shaped by our parents' ability or inability to nurture and guide us through adolescence. It's deliberately paced and it epitomizes the old filmmaking adage of show, don't tell. It reveals plot points and character development through what's not said, and a lot is left up to the audience to infer. We're slowly drip fed information that starts to paint a picture of these characters and their motivations, and it builds on itself exponentially, leaving the revelations until the final act. The performances are everything in this film. The story's effectiveness rests on the nuanced portrayals of these flawed and multi-dimensional characters, and every one of the cast plays their respective roles perfectly. Stephen Graham is always great, and he's so good at playing characters that have this quality of a latent aggression or formidability mixed with a pathos and relatability. Andrea Riseborough is also great here, playing another broken and tortured type of character. That seems to be her go-to these days. But the standout is Anson Boone, who manages to bring depth and nuance to the role of the initially unlikable protagonist. He's totally believable as an obnoxious little prick who seems to have no redeeming qualities, until the layers of his character are stripped back to reveal a deeper and more complex person. Now, I am going to give a very light spoiler warning here. I'm not going to go into details about the plot and how it plays out, but there's no way I can talk about this film without delving into some of the themes it's exploring. So there's not going to be any proper spoilers here, but if you wanted to go in completely blind as to what you're in for thematically, then maybe don't continue watching. For me, this story plays out like a parable or fable on dysfunctional love, familial neglect, nature versus nurture, unconventional rehabilitation, and the juxtaposition between neglect and abuse. It essentially poses the question of what is worse, the deprivation of love and nurture, or abuse that's underpinned by a genuine desire to help improve who you are. It's also about loss and grief, but the theme I found most striking and salient is the one that juxtaposes these two undesirable approaches to child rearing. It explores what giving a teenager too much freedom can do to their character, and in this story, the too much freedom basically comes in the form of parental apathy and lack of attention or affection. It also explores how a more hands-on and possibly even abusive approach could actually be more beneficial for someone in the long run. I mean, is a sincere wish for your betterment still bad if it comes in the form of depriving you of your freedom and autonomy? Sometimes all a person needs is for someone to pay them proper attention and dig beneath the surface in order to draw out their true self and uncover who they really are at their core. Plus, found family can be way more important and nutritional to our flourishing than the one we are born to. These are the kind of themes this film explores, and the way it slowly reveals its hand right at the end is so impressive. It's a real gut punch ending that left me feeling pensive with a lot to unpack. It all comes together in the final act, and after its true thematic purpose is revealed, it morphs into something all the more moving, poignant, and kind of subtly powerful. I think it was David Lynch who said a film should start when you leave the cinema, and this is one of those films. It'll leave you feeling blindsided in a state of contemplation, ruminating on what you've just experienced, and it's sure to greatly affect some audience members who are sensitive to the themes it so cleverly examines. It's definitely not for everyone. It's a strange and unusual film with a premise that is very peculiar, and I do think that some of its charms could be possibly lost on non-British audiences, and maybe its themes will be a bit too cryptic for some, but it's a totally unique little film that punches above its weight. I think it's a genre-defying gem that has so much more depth and meaning than you might assume on first appearances. It packs a powerful punch in the end, and it really took me by surprise. I loved it. So that was my review of The Good Boy. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this, then leave me a like. I'd really appreciate it, and it will help the channel. Obviously, I'm still a new channel, so any engagement would be appreciated. And consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell. But regardless, thanks so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.